Coming up at 11, Attorney General Russell Coleman has filed a lawsuit against an AI chatbot company.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Caroline Mueller. Lawmakers are putting the final touches on a bill that was intended to change Kentucky's justice system, some believe for the better. Logan's Law is named after a Woodford County boy killed more than 10 years ago. Ronald Exantis was charged for the murder but found not guilty by reason of insanity. However, he was convicted on 3 assault charges for stabbing Logan's family that same night. He served 7 years before being released last fall on mandatory re-entry supervision. Exantis was arrested in Florida days later and is now serving out his sentence in Kentucky. Madison Porter talked to the sponsors of Logan's Law on the proposed changes.
Legislators started crafting Logan's Law more than 3 months ago. Representative T.J. Roberts says he knew change was needed after Ronald Exantis' release, despite a Kentucky parole board voting to keep him behind bars. Roberts says the bill includes language that would abolish mandatory reentry supervision for people like Exantis.
If the parole board doesn't feel that way, the day-to-day Kentuckian shouldn't be forced to live with these people.
He says it's also intended to change the Commonwealth's insanity plea and the possibility of a split verdict. The goal is to keep another Kentucky family from experiencing a similar outcome.
We failed them. We need to take action and hold ourselves to account for this, and this is how we're going to do it.
Although the General Assembly has been in session for a couple of days, Roberts is not ready to file Logan's Law just yet. He says with a bill like this, it's important to get the language right on the first try.
Get it to where once it's introduced, it can fly through the legislative process and get on the governor's desk as quickly as possible.
The Tipton family is included in this process. Logan's father, Dean Tipton, says this bill is something they've wanted since hearing the verdict all those years ago.
It's bittersweet. You know, it's something that we want more than anything, and we wish never had to come to this.
Roberts believes once the bill hits the floor, it will have full support.
It would shock me. It would disgust me as well if any of my colleagues opted to vote against this bill.
In Frankfort, Madison Porter, WKYT.
Another bill sponsor, Representative Daniel Pfister, tells us he hopes to file Logan's Law next week. A state lawmaker is trying to change the requirements that we just discussed of the mandatory re-entry program that left Exantis able to get out of prison last October. Right now, only prisoners who were convicted of Class A felonies or capital offenses are disqualified. State Senator Brandon Storm's bill proposes another requirement. He wants to keep prisoners convicted of 2 or more violent offenses from being in the program. Storm also wants the state to give lawmakers an annual report on the program. A West Virginia man who is charged with murder and vehicular homicide in a 2024 DUI crash that killed 1 woman is asking the court for a fair trial. Chad Blackburn was arrested on July 2024 after police say he was driving under the influence on US 119 when a crash occurred that killed 1 woman and injured her passenger. Since then, Blackburn's family says he's been passed from judge to judge and is held on a $1 million bond, which they fear is not because of the crime, but its connection to local courts. Since the victim of the crash was the mother of a Pike County judge. So the defense team has asked the court for a change of venue and asked to reduce Blackburn's $1 million cash bond.
We are not in any way trying to make less of what happened or not say that he's not taking accountability. What we're saying is it needs to be fair. He needs to be treated just like everybody else.
Prosecutors say Blackburn is not being treated any differently, and they have been working to ensure a fair trial, which they believe will be possible in Pike County, with a special judge now presiding over the case. Kentucky Attorney General Russell Coleman is suing an AI chatbot company. He says a site called Character.ai is putting Kentucky children in danger. The site lets users talk to AI bots that act like celebrities and fictional characters, including some who are popular among children. Coleman says Character.ai has been tied to multiple youth suicides and claims there aren't enough guardrails on the platforms. Coleman says the site's developers to pay fines for violating consumer protection law. Back here in Kentucky, human remains were discovered on a private property in Warren County. The sheriff's office says the remains were found in the 7200 block of Richardsville Road. We understand private property had been cordoned off with police tape. Police say the remains will be sent off for an analysis. One man was killed after he was struck by a vehicle in Claiborne County, Tennessee. In a crash report from the Tennessee Highway Patrol, it indicates that 56-year-old Michael Hembry had been walking in the middle of the southbound lane on Highway 33 Tuesday night. The report states that 52-year-old Patrick Howard hit Hembry while he was on the roadway. After he was taken to the Claiborne County Emergency Room, Hembry was pronounced dead. And in Rowan County, one person was killed in a single vehicle crash. Deputies with the sheriff's office say Moorhead 911 learned about the crash at approximately 8:30 this morning on US West 60. Police say the vehicle went over an embankment near Pleasant Valley Road. A 43-year-old man was thrown from the vehicle he was driving during the incident. The man's name was not released.
All right, we got a lot going on over the next several hours, beginning with a marginal risk for severe weather, or a level 1 out of 5 for the counties highlighted in orange. So from Jackson to Middlesboro over towards Monticello, you're under that marginal risk. Now with that heavy wind, some places seeing wind gusts as high as 60 miles per hour, not out of the question. And there's a very low end. It's not a 0, but it's a very, 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 very low wind tornado risk for the counties highlighted in purple. So let's go ahead and time out future view. We'll start the clock at 2 p.m. There's that line of showers that's exiting out of the area. We'll keep a renegade shower in the forecast for Friday night. By Saturday, we'll do it all over again. We'll keep the rain chances and thunderstorm chances in the forecast. Highs on Friday, making it back into the 60s. I'll have your complete first alert forecast coming up in a few minutes. Caroline.
Eric, thank you. House Democrats are laying out their priorities for the 2026 legislative session. They say their agenda focuses on health care, housing, and cost-facing working families. Lawmakers propose capping medical debt at 3%, expanding mental health coverage, and creating a $100 million affordable housing loan fund.
We want a Kentucky where a health crisis does not become a financial crisis.
Democrats also want to raise the minimum wage to $17 an hour by 2029.
I don't believe you'll see much support for that.
House Democrats say they hope health care and housing efforts can draw bipartisan support this session. And in Washington, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to extend the Obamacare tax credits that had expired on January 1st. WYMT Washington correspondent Emma Woolhurst is in D.C. with what this could mean for people's insurance premiums.
In a rebuke of Republican leadership, 17 GOP lawmakers joined with Democrats to extend enhanced premium tax credits for 3 years.
Today's vote was to move a bill to the Senate so that the Senate could come back with a bipartisan compromise. The 3-year extension is not going to become law.
When the enhanced premium tax credits expired at the start of this year, millions of Americans on ACA plans saw their premiums go up.
They found their way there because of public pressure. And that is what and public outcry. That is really what moves the needle here.
The Senate is expected to amend this legislation because a 3-year extension already failed last month.
I'm willing to negotiate in good faith and come to a bipartisan agreement. I want to extend the enhanced premium tax credits with reforms. Today was a vote to advance legislation to the Senate.
In Washington, Emma Woolhurst.
Today, the Hyde and Leslie County Chamber of Commerce hosted an open discussion with students from Leslie County High School, hoping to better understand the younger generation's perspective on why many tend to leave Eastern Kentucky. Members of the Chamber of Commerce say by learning the students' input on what they like, dislike, and what they feel is missing throughout the region, The goal was to develop actionable ideas they can propose for funding.
So we've got to find ways to entice these people back. But it's rough, you know, there's only so many educational opportunities in Eastern Kentucky, so many four-year schools, so kids wanting to go get a better education, their options are limited. So there's just a limited number of things that the kids can do. So we're trying to help with that.
Students say aside from the shortage of career paths, there's also a lack of activities and entertainment. In Pike County, the animal shelter is looking for the owner of this pair of pigs. These cute little guys were found on Black Creek Road yesterday near Newell Lane. The shelter thinks they're someone's pets that got loose. If you know who they may belong to, contact the animal shelter. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, 2 people are hurt after a shooting involving federal agents in Portland, Oregon.
And in the world of weather, all is quiet now, but shower chances will be the main rule Friday morning. Details coming up.
Food, it's our spice of life. Nobody does